Alright, we've done courage and friendship, but which Digi-Eggs are we going to explore full evolution lines for next? Well, I chose Sincerity because grass, spring, summer? I don't know, at least this series is more consistent than armor fixing. What is up, digital companion? Oh, I forgot the light again. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. And yes, we are continuing our series exploring what all the Armor Digimon might look like if they got full evolution lines. Armor Digimon typically don't digivolve further, especially as seen in Digimon Adventure 02. But outside of that media, you do occasionally see Armor Digimon get to digivolve conventionally, especially in things like the card game and the VPETs. But I want to choose specifically thematic evolutions for these guys, what it would look like if they digivolved in the Digimon anime. So rather than the more random digivolution that you see in some stuff, for this series, I am trying to find something that would work in the anime, something that you might expect to see in the adventure continuity, like I say, Agumon to Greymon to Metal Greymon to War Greymon. And I have actually tackled this subject with the 02 kids previously with existing Digimon and custom art, and in the existing Digimon we already did Shurimon. Shurimon, of course, being the Sincerity Armor Digivolution for Hawkmon. Unfortunately, there are no like grass ninja or samurai Digimon that fully fit the bill, so the line I went with are newly revealed Digimon. I say newly, they're a couple of years old now. Ayatamon digivolving from Shurimon I think works very well, and then into Bloom Lordmon, because we must remember that Hawkmon presents generally masculine in the Adventure 02 continuity. So Bloom Lordmon makes a ton of sense, and I think if you look at this line altogether, it does make sense, remaining plant life warriors if changing their theme a little bit throughout. I think especially Shurimon and Bloom Lordmon have got a good connection, and Ayatamon's just a nice thing in between. The rest of the Sincerity armors though are a little bit more difficult, the ones we didn't see in 02. The overall theme of the Digi-Egg of Sincerity is grass and a Japanese aesthetic. I'm still not entirely sure where that Japanese aesthetic came from, with Mimi and Palmon being the originators. Palmon's line isn't overtly Japanese, and Mimi herself, while of course is a Japanese kid, is one of the more American kids out of all of them, but hey, it's a fun theme. So because we are lacking a certain amount of thematic grass Digimon, I am going to focus on that grass and Japanese vibe, but I'm also, where possible, going to make a cohesive evolution line. So we have to drop grass or drop Japanese. That's just something we're going to have to do. However, I'm going to try and preserve one or the other where completely possible. And we're going to begin with Yaksamon. This is the Vmon Sincerity Armor Digivolution. It's also been used as a Dracmon Evo before, which I do quite like. And because of that, I am going to be treating all of these Armor Digimon in this video as around champion level, filling in from a rookie and into an ultimate level. People have gotten confused in the past and thought that that was me saying that all Armor Digimon are around champion level. That's not quite true. But for most of these videos, that will be the case, of power level being equivalent to champion. And that slightly spookier side to Yaksamon is something I do want to focus on. We are unfortunately, I think, going to have to lose the grass elements. However, we can very much lean into a traditional Japanese aesthetic with Yaksamon's evolution line, because we have a newish Digimon from Digimon Ghost game, Oboromon. This floating ghost Oni samurai still has a bluish tinge to its underbody, which lines up to Yaksamon quite well. It also has the same two horns as Yaksamon, which is a great connection. And while it does lack two training swords, you can kind of see how maybe the training shield transformed into this skull arm, and then we've got the samurai sword, a proper sword, not a training sword, poking out. It even still has hair in an appropriate place similar to Yaksamon, just obviously grey now instead of red. It's a really good evolution for Yaksamon in my opinion, and one that I'm happy to use. And then from there, well, it's pretty easy. I'm going to have this line end on Zambamon, an undead samurai, perfectly again matching up to the themes of Oboromon, and does naturally, I think, translate from Yaksamon too. Some fun details are that Oboromon has this kind of like red shoulder cape, and Zambamon has a reddish orange cape which matches up, as well as some of the traditional Japanese armor parts which is similar between Oboromon and Zambamon. And you could even say perhaps that the skeletal arm and samurai sword of Oboromon became the mount for Zambamon, its head and little sword peeking out, feeling very similar. The connection to Yaksamon isn't as good, however those traditional Japanese elements are preserved. You could say perhaps the two horns became the moon, the crescent moon on its helmet, and maybe even that red hair is some of the reason why Oboromon and Zambamon have a red cape. Next up is Frogmon, and I actually really love this guy the more I look at it. Don't know if I love it as a Armadillomon armor, but it's still pretty great. It's a little grass frog ninja with leaf shurikens. I think it works very nicely. There's not a ton of Digimon, unfortunately, that fit the bill for an evolution for this. There's a lot of Digimon that could digivolve into it, but from there we're kind of stuck. However, I think a natural evolution would be Shogun Gakkomon. I hadn't really considered this to be related to the Crest of Sincerity before. However, Shogun Gakkomon does have these these leaf frills around his neck. And of course, Shogun Geckomon, and specifically Geckomon, have a pretty good connection to Mimi in the original adventure. And Digivolving from Frogmon, well, him being a Shogun kind of fits the traditional Japanese aesthetic, Tonosama Geckomon being his Japanese name, and Tonosama being a feudal lord. And you could even say maybe it got lazy through Digivolution, and that the two leaf propellers turned into those big trumpets. And something I do think is nice is that Frogmon has a yellow at the front coloration and a red at the back, and Shogun Geckomon has a yellow belly and a red body, so even that feels kind of connected. I think Shogun Geckomon is one of those Digimon like Monzemon that deserves its mega evolution to exist, as well as X Tyrannomon, that needs one too. Monzemon finally got Shin Monzemon in recent times, and I think that works fantastically. I would love it wouldn't be called this, but a Shin Shogun Geckomon or a Shin X Tyrannomon. And because we are really lacking a decent frog or gecko mega in that respect, the two choices to me come down to either Eldoradimon, which reserves some of the coloration of Shogun Geckomon, and for our Sincerity tie-in, obviously has a lot of trees on its back, so that could work. Or, yes, of course, Ebonwumon, but Ebonwumon is a sovereign. I don't see this being the evolution here. Definitely could be, though. I'm not against it fully. Eldoradimon, Ebonwumon, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, or if you've got a better pick that I haven't thought of. Then is a really tricky one. Patamon becomes Ponchomon. This is also a death digivolution for Togemon, but Ponchomon has this kind of like Patamon fur as a poncho around it, and this is such a difficult, tricky Digimon to find an evolution line for. My first thought was to go a little bit weird with it and choose Phantomon, namely because, well, they're both kind of like ghostly Digimon. Phantomon also being cloaked and having no feet, I think there is something that works there. While obviously a Bakemon evolution, Phantomon has also been used as a Devimon evolution fairly commonly, and I could see if Patamon has armor digivolved into a ghost, it being a more ghostly form would make sense, and because of Angemon's rivalry with Devimon, something in that Nightmare Soldier's wheelhouse would make sense. However, a different one that I am a little bit more invested in is Pumpkinmon. Now again, Pumpkinmon does not have any traditional Japanese theming to it, but it is something more of a spooky Digimon, kind of tying into that ghostly vibe of Ponchomon, and this is very giga-brained. What if that poncho, that orange Patamon poncho of Ponchomon, rode up and enveloped the head, becoming the pumpkin? And indeed, even the green parts of Ponchomon could have risen up, instead of being the part of the body, are now that green cape, revealing this kind of like puppet body underneath, this sewn together body. I don't know, I think it kind of works, it's kind of fun, and that does set up very nicely for us to have Noble Pumpkinmon as the mega, preserving all the things that we like about Ponchomon and Pumpkinmon being connected, but also connecting back to Patamon. Noble Pumpkinmon has wings. While he's not an angel, those are more like fallen angel wings, I still think it's a nice connection to the fact that Patamon is our origin rookie of this evolution line, still getting the angel wings that he was promised if he hadn't have become a Ponchomon. And with Noble Pumpkinmon having a very Jack Skellington vibe, that connection to Ponchomon I think also works, ghostly undead feel, with some orange and green still connecting to Patamon and Sincerity. I would also like to use Bancho Lilymon here just because she has a Togemon yo-yo, and obviously Ponchomon is kind of like a Togemon variant or death digivolution, but I just don't think it fits for Patamon really. Nohemon is really interesting. It is Wormmon Sincerity Armor Digivolution, and I can kind of see how this works, right? It's a scarecrow, it's also an archer, and that's a traditional Japanese warrior class, though interestingly, actually the crow is the Digimon and the scarecrow is the body. This made me think about digivolving specifically the crow and keeping some Sincerity green and grass elements, which is when I settled on perhaps digivolving Wormmon's Nohemon to Voltramon. Voltramon is again another newly revealed Digimon. With that spiky green shoulder pad, I'm getting crazy Togemon vibes from it, which would be a great connection to the Crest of Sincerity. Also, you know, the scarecrow, the crow, would become a vulture, admittedly a different bird, but still a good match. And I can even see how the brown parts of the outfit that Voltramon is wearing could also have come from the outfit that the scarecrow is wearing in Nohemon. And if an archer wanted to up his game and be more effective, yeah, a translation into a sniper makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, if you want to focus on the crow elements, you could also go to Yatagaramon, but I think either way it would be nice to end on Ravemon, because Ravemon is a corvid and a ninja. Crows and ravens are both corvids. It's kind of a great fit, whether you put Voltramon or Yatagaramon in between Wormmon and Nohemon leading into Ravemon. That brings us to our final Sincerity Armor Digivolution, Kabukimon, traditionally being a Sincerity Armor Digivolution evolution of Gatomon or Salamon. We're going to kind of go with a more 0-2 feel, so we're picking Gatomon, a depowered tail ring Gatomon, but if you want Salamon, that's fine too. And Kabukimon, again, we can't really like lean in super heavily to the Japanese aesthetic because we've already used basically all the Digimon that might apply. However, I've always liked Blossomon as a Kabukimon Evo. First of all, because it's a very common plant Digivolution, an alternate for Digimon connected to the Crest of Sincerity, whether it Digivolves like from Togemon or into Rosemon. This has been seen many times. And I like the connection that Kabukimon has these flower faces for hands, and so does Blossomon. It's not a perfect connection, but I think it's one that works. And Blossomon having these spiked vines again feels like a nice connection back to Togemon and the Crest of Sincerity. The Mega though, well, of course we could go with Rosemon, but that's already Mimi's Mega, I don't want to repeat that. What came to me was Babamon. She's cloaked in green, first of all, which is a great connection to the Crest of Sincerity. Her name, Baba, comes from the Japanese for old woman, a more traditionally Japanese name. And she has this necklace that always to me resembled the Crest of Light. But yes, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that this is the same necklace that Rosemon has. And that is no coincidence, because according to Babamon's reference book listing, it is rumored that a Rosemon was cursed and transformed into this form. So again, this isn't necessarily the Crest of Light, but it's a very similar symbol, and it's pink, just like the color most commonly associated with the Crest and Digi-Egg of Light. Plus, Babamon is basically confirmed to have been a Rosemon, which to me, all of that together is a perfect marriage between the Kari, the Gatomon side, and the Mimi, the Crest of Sincerity side, to create a Mega for Kabukimon Gatomon Sincerity Armor Digivolution. And if you don't like that because you don't like Babamon for some reason, Ceresmon Medium also has hands encased in flowers. Alright, that is it. My picks for evolution lines for the Sincerity Armor Digimon. Hawkmon to Shurimon to Ayatamon to Bloom Lordmon, Vmon to Yaksamon to Aboramon to Zambamon, Armadillomon to Frogmon to Shogun Gakkomon to Ebonwumon or Eldoradimon, Patomon to Ponchomon to Pumpkinmon and Noble Pumpkinmon, Wormmon to Nohemon to Vulturemon and Ravemon, and Gatomon to Kabukimon to Blossomon to Babamon. Let me know your picks in the comments down below, and please make sure you like and subscribe. I really would appreciate it. Shoutouts to my sovereign level patrons EDK14, as well as everyone else who supports me over on patreon.com/Karn EX, and my supporters here on YouTube as well. Channel memberships are holding it down. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.